Many thanks for your company. Now, a video showing some pupils practicing how to click a computer mouse with stones during an ICT class has gone viral on social media. In the video, the pupils are compelled to improvise with stones because they do not have access to a computer for their lesson. Well, Joy News traced the school with the help of social media and paid a visit there to see the true extent of their problems. Central Region correspondent Richard Kojunyako joined the Class 6 pupils of the Assin Asamankese DA Primary School in the Assin South District and reports on the other ways improvisation has come in handy in their ICT class.
I'm here at the Assin Asamankese DA Primary School, and this school has fortunately or unfortunately gone viral because a teacher was seen in the classroom teaching the student how to learn ICT with the aid of stones. He was using the stones to help the students to identify what a mouse is, to left click and right click, and then because in the absence of the computer, the teacher would have to improvise. I can see that it is these stones that the students picked, and then each student will pick one stone and then they will use it as a way of teaching them what a mouse is and how a mouse looks like.
This school, when I came in, I saw that it'd been ages, been 5 years. We celebrated it last 2 years, that is 50 years, last 2 years. But we lack a lot of things about the teaching aids and other things here. So when I came, since I came here, those who were in class 2 are now in class 6. And we haven't had anything like computer that we can use to teach them. So when it came to that way, I saw that since they are going to JHS, they will be writing the exam. So I had to do something so that they will have at least the feel. If it's not the rare thing, they can do something. So I tried using it so that I told them to imagine. I drew them on the board and told them to imagine how the thing is so that they will use their hands to touch, to feel, and then do the clicking aspect. So when the stone was in their hand, I told them they should imagine the left as the left button and then the right at the right button, and then where they put their hand being the body of it, so that by so doing they will know that when they go and they have the feel somewhere, they will be able to identify or they will be able to know what they have done here.
How are you all? I am fine. Okay, so they all have their stones?
Yes. No, sir. You don't have it?
I'm in the class 6 classroom of Assin Asamankese Primary School, and this is the very classroom that Mr. Asamankese used the stone in teaching the students ICT. Today I have my stone and I'm joining the class in learning ICT using the stone.
As I told you, the single click is by pressing the button of the mouse once. Yes. Yes. So we are going to do it. Single click, yes. Okay. Okay, good. Then the same thing, we are going to use it to click double. That is the double click. Yes, sir. And with this one, I said it is what? In quick succession. Huh? Yes, sir. So it's in quick succession. So when you do it, don't just do it like this, leave your hand and then come again. No. Do it. Make sure you don't click where you use the index finger. Right click. That is your.
That is Mr. Asamankese, the class 6 teacher of the Assin Asamankese DA Primary School, teaching the students how to left click, how to right click, and how to even drag an icon on the computer from one place to the other. And I'm told that this is not the only thing he improvises. He has been able to successfully teach the children motherboard A's, and then he's taking them out to have a real feel of that place. They've been making constant appeals to authorities for them to even have one computer in order for the children to use. So using this stone to learn it, is it difficult or it has made it very easy?
That made it very easy.
Very easy.
Yes.
And you're happy about it?
Yes. I want government to give us more.
Then right click, left click, double click.
It is very easy to use to learn, because it is not the real mouse.
It's not a real mouse.
Yes.
So you want a real mouse?
Yes.
But have you seen a real mouse before?
Yes.
Where did you see one?
My home. I want to tell the government that they should bring computers and mouse here. We don't have some here, so they should bring more.
It is easy.
It is very easy.
Yes, sir.
Why do you say that it is easy?
I'm feeling well to use this to make a mouse to learn.
The first one, as you saw, is the computer. From class 1 to class 6, we don't have one computer in the school. You used to have one damaged one at my office. So doing the practical, then they come and used to touch it. Now it is still there, it is just damaged. It's totally spoiled. That way they were using to help the children to see the computer themselves. But now, when I came here, they were using the provider, and I asked them to find a means to get one computer in the school. So this is the first step that the teacher took. So we need computers in the school. That one day, it's must, because the topic is from class 1 to class 6. We have to teach ICT.
The National Coordinator of Young at Heart, which is an information communication technology firm that specializes in taking ICT education to children in rural areas, Josephine Mari, spoke to us here on Joy News, and she's been suggesting some solutions for deprived schools and teachers.
Unfortunately, in most rural communities, and this is backed by research by the Global Health and Education Project, about 98% of students in rural communities in Africa would go through basic school without ever using a computer or having any practical feel of any ICT technology tool. It is quite sad because, during the formative stages of a child, it's important that they have enough exposure. And when things are meant to be practical, they should be practical. It only goes on to say that they are being taught ICT in theory. And sometimes the closest they've come to a computer is a drawing on a blackboard. Definitely, it shortcuts some sort of the practical need for them to experience technology in their formative stages. If not, then they find it very difficult to connect to it as a problem-solving tool, even when they grow up and they have the opportunity to use it. So you can look at it from two perspectives. In the positive light, you can say that they are trying to be innovative, in quotes, to try and find some kind of teaching and learning material, even when there isn't any. We're trying to give them some sort of feel. The teachers definitely would want to inculcate some sort of knowledge in the kids. However, realistically, it is not the best. Using a stone in place of a mouse, it leaves much to be desired. I think that ICT is a very practical-oriented subject, and the least we can do for the children of Ghana and students in Ghana is to give them the opportunity to have that practical feel of it. It's not enough to use a stone. Yeah. So one way we have looked at addressing this is to pair up volunteer in tertiary institutions to rural communities. We are aware that, and which is the case, that the GES may not be able to readily provide computers to all schools currently. So another way of looking at it is recycling what we have, computers with basic functions that can allow some practical work to be done. And I think that's something we can do. There are lots of computers that are replaced day in and day out in government organizations and different institutions, and these can actually be used to complement our education.
Away from ICT education, for 2 nights, they've had to contend with a harsh weather condition in poorly ventilated, mosquito-infested, dark classrooms. This is almost like an annual ritual for the over 1,000 displaced residents of Blekusu in the Keta municipality of the Volta region. These residents have had to contend with tidal waves that often more than not result in deaths and loss of properties running into millions of cedis. Joy News' Matilda Bamega spent part of her Monday night with these displaced residents who are putting up in classrooms and church buildings.
So I'm currently in Blekusu here in the Volta region, and this is a classroom where several of these displaced residents here within this particular community are putting up. They've been here since last night. Several of them are here with their families in order to seek shelter within this particular school. I'm told the school has been closed until further notice because the premises is supposed to be a makeshift structure for these residents who have been affected. And I'm going to be interacting with one of these residents who have been affected here. This is her bed. This is where she and her family have been putting up since the tide affected by the tidal waves last night. So let me speak to her now and get some understanding. David, good evening.
Good evening.
Morocco Nkode.
I'm going to Gladys Nyanyo.
Okay. So Auntie Gladys, alaka umwa chejo nami.
My global na Assin about 3 o'clock ina. Emi kwa na achi ayoko nami. Ko emi ba afuoshiun. Ko amuwa kwa miang. Anya view. Na kota pa umblani. Ilo miawa ngokora moto. Miawa store. Amayo, muyola makata, agblin, ya vinyo school ban, mukata, agblin, ali mochota, miesi koba, mukata, la miekata, inyalaki, miyola ba.
Miama neni.
Oh, miama adrel. Apam.
Basically, what Auntie Gladys is telling us is that since last night, she and her family had to seek refuge in this particular building because of yesterday's flooding within their particular area. And she is saying that they have been terribly affected. Most of them had to escape from the flood waters because it had gotten to her waist level as at the time they were being rescued from their homes. So yes, it's something that they are used to. It's an annual thing, but it appears this year's situation is worse than what they have been used to. What she is saying is that she's appealing to government to address the situation, that is implementing a long-term plan to address issue about flooding within this particular community. And she's not the only one in this room. Like I told you some few minutes ago, she's here with other members of her family, and they are putting up here. They're going to be here until the situation normalized, where they coming from. Almost every time Nami I like me government na address new because every day na jo ucho molu pleur matres vanamia madrenya kataro I like na jiba wa address situation anami
Rakuma jiba matres pleur mundo o ma unana kanami wa ba le mitapam loga fia do mudoria de matres ari ta komi kokuda na ajuaba onana mitafa afibubu ai ba watu honami watu ho ko damira ma mashia manano maganya chakwoto odnami hore tafa ikanya tagbalo tafa katra le chakwogbo watu hora fimonami alaba miano makple mia view na miara ajidi alaba matresi kple mudoya o kovina mia miatangwa dura afima.
Okay, so in as much as they appreciate government's efforts to address their situation by providing them with relief items, they are saying that they are appealing to government to find a suitable location for them so they can be relocated somewhere far away from the coast so they and their families can be safe to enjoy these relief items that will be coming, because if these items are given to them and they do not find a place to lay them, it makes no sense to them. So they are appealing to government to start working on relocating most of these people who live around Blekusu and its environs. The calls for a relocation plan for people who live within here, but they are not the only ones seeking shelter from this particular school building. There are several of them outside also trying to get shelter from this particular school compound. You can see several of them here who are trying to make do with what has been provided to them. Well, already by ya Joe Fia, no Jitapanami.
Malaret.
Already. Katapaka Jimile.
Ayo community mi poko, Bamia noko.
Okay, so it appears to be a divided opinion here. Some of them are ready and willing to move out of this place if government should go ahead with its relocation plans, but others are also not ready. Yes, most of them here are fishmongers. That is their main source of livelihood, and their husbands are also fishermen. If government should go ahead to relocate them to a different community, it means their jobs are going to be on the line. So they are appealing to government to first of all address issue about the sea defense project. Government should expand the sea defense project to cover Blekusu and its environs. So these are the concerns of displaced residents. These are over 1,506 residents here within Blekusu in the Volta region who are appealing to government to immediately come to their aid and do something about the situation. For Joy News, Matilda Vomaga, Blekusu, Volta region.
Meanwhile, the assembly member of the area, Clemens Agbote, is appealing to government for immediate relocation and extension of the sea defense project. He explains why.
Oh, as at now, let me tell you, as at yesterday, around 5 p.m. when NADMO came and we did the registration, about 195 households have been displaced. And in all, we can say that individuals that have been displaced are about 1,506 as at yesterday. And this morning, the situation has aggravated in the evening. So as at this morning, we have continued with the registration, and we have more of the people that were affected. And even right now, some people were being affected, and we are still doing the registration with not more people.
Okay, but I realized that we have several of these people putting up in this school building. Is this the only place that most of them are?
Oh, thank you. This is not the only place that most of them are. When we talk about Blekusu electoral area, we have about 5 small communities. But 4 of the communities have been affected seriously. We have Blekusu Fatriki have been affected. We have Blekusu Doma seriously affected. We have Blekusu Aninima seriously affected. And Blekusu Anyehega seriously affected. So we have 2 schools in this electoral area. That is Blekusu Mina, AME Zion, and Blekusu RC Basic School. And so, RC is where we are standing right now. So we are asking everybody to come and sleep at RC so that we can keep some of the things at Mina so that they could not move all the way from Aninima.
In the early hours of Monday, Director General of NADMO, Nanajaman Prempe, toured some affected communities in the Volta and Greater Accra regions. He assured of government's efforts to implement long-term measures to deal with tidal waves and flooding in the country. NADMO, as part of its short-term plan, also made donations of relief items to about 1,550 residents of Akblagbanya in Ada.
Because it's an emergency, we need to distribute this relief item to at least get the people in place, you know. When we finish with that, then we will know the next thing to do. But I believe as a nation, we have to sit down and look at the long-term plan. You've seen here Field Engineers Regiment, you've seen here the Assembly, and they are all stakeholders as far as this problem is concerned. So I believe after this, we look at the short-term first, but after that we can meet, and then as a nation, we look at the long-term. I'm talking about preventive measures.
These people are getting almost used to the situation, and I'm wondering, you as NADMO, aren't you tired of distributing relief items almost all the time?
That is one thing the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo, doesn't want to hear, that NADMO, the work of NADMO is distributing of rice and sugar and those things. The President don't want to hear that. The President wants to see us working more on preventive measures, disaster risk reduction. That is what we are planning to do. We having a lot of plans, and we believe the government itself, the Parliament is in support. And like you said, the people here, there are getting used to.
Yeah.
In fact, even when you want to relocate them, they don't want to, because they've lived here for long and they know that every year it will come and go.
But do you have plans to relocate them?
Well, it is something we're thinking of. You know, it's something we're thinking of. There are two ways. It's either we relocate them or we do a sea defense.
So which of them are you considering now?
You're watching Joy News today. We are taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll be having a conversation on restoring the Ghanaian identity, our values, our passion, because that's the topic for this year's National Dialogue, facilitated by the National Commission for Civic Education. Thanks for staying here on Joy News today. Now, restoring the Ghanaian identity, our values, our passion. That's the topic for this year's National Dialogue, facilitated by the National Commission for Civic Education. But why restoring the Ghanaian identity, our values and passion? Have we lost it as a people? And what exactly are the measures being taken to restore it? Well, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is billed to speak to the topic as the special guest of honor this year's National Dialogue, which comes off Wednesday, 14th June. What can we expect from this dialogue? Who are the other speakers and to what end? Joining me in studios, the Deputy Chairperson in charge of Finance and Administration at the National Commission for Civic Education, Madam Kathleen Addy, to tell us more. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure hosting you now. Let's talk about the topic for this National Dialogue. Does the NCC think we've lost it? Have we lost it as a people, our identity and values?
I'm not so sure about lost it. I don't think we've lost it. But as a people, from time to time, we need to remind ourselves of what we want to be, what our aspirations are, where we've come from, where we're heading to, what are the good things that we've left behind. Do we want to pick them up again? Do we want to change something about the way we live? So the topic, restoring our identity, our values, speaks to that aspiration. Is there something we've lost? It's a question for all of us to answer. The NCC does not provide the answers for that. And that's why we're having this conversation. Have we lost something? Should we get something back? Do we like the society we've built? Can we improve it? What do we need to do to improve it? What are some of the values that we need to reinforce? What are the values we need to preach for Ghana to become a better place? Because as for room for improvement, there always is, no matter the situation.
Interesting. Some may think it's quite timely considering what we've been seeing in our country lately with the issue of lynching. And a lot of calls, in fact, I hosted someone here who mentioned the NCCE to be specific. How do you feel with this conversation coming in at this particular time?
Well, it's timely, like you said. Not to say that the lynching was a good thing, but it's a good time to remind ourselves about all the great values that we need to have as a people. Values like patriotism, honesty, fairness, you know, being good to people, all those things. If those values were at play, and if those values are at play, the lynching that we are seeing would not go on. Why would anybody accuse a little vulnerable old lady of witchcraft and stone her to death? Were they not compassionate? Were they honest? They have evidence? You understand? Why would they pick on her because she's vulnerable? So all these things are important. Once we insist and emphasize the values, it might give people pause. So that as you pick up the stone to throw, you ask yourself, is this really fair to this poor old lady? So the values are important. They are the glue that keeps the wheels of our society churning in the direction that we want it to churn.
Interesting. So what's the impact, especially using Dr. Bawumia, our Vice President, as the main guest of honor? What impact do we hope to see?
Well, we are really pleased that the Vice President agreed to be the guest of honor for this program. We think that it brings the program the needed gravitas, it gives us the needed profile, it brings attention to the program so that more people will be part of the conversation. It's not a one-day program. We are hoping to spark off something we are hoping to spark off a national introspection, you know, a looking at ourselves, a looking at the mirror and looking at ourselves to see how we can change things for the better in our society. So the Vice President agreeing to come on board is excellent, because we all know that he's a Vice President, he's a well-respected person, his opinions really matter. So him being part of a program like this makes it easy for more people to, you know, focus on the program. We hope to come back to discuss it after tomorrow, because we need to keep the conversation going. It's not just about a one-day event. We need to keep the conversation going, asking ourselves how to build a better society.
So what are the other speakers for tomorrow's event?
Right, we have a panel of 4. Prof. Ade, formerly of GIMPA, Madam Ama Ata Edu, Professor VC REC Crab, and then Dr. KB Asante. So that is our panel. They will have a discussion, and we picked this panel because we all know them. They are experienced. These are the people who knew the good things when Ghana was, you know, when Ghana was different. These are the people. We have an educationist, we have a legal brain, we have Ama Taidu, who, as you all know, is a brilliant writer and a thinker. So we have this panel, and we know that with the panel that we have, with the Vice President's participation, we will have a good discussion about the topic. Our moderator is Professor Audrey Gajapo.
Great. Before you go, Madam Ade, just briefly want to find out the plans to extend this national dialogue to other parts of the country.
Absolutely. The plan, there's always a good plan, you know, as to whether you can actually have the resources to be able to deploy the plan is something else. But certainly the plan is to, you know, decentralize the program, have it in all the regions, have it at the level of district if possible. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a family in a district sitting down and having a conversation about how do we build a better society? What are the values that we've lost? What are the good things that we've lost? How do we claim them back? So yes, we are certainly planning to decentralize the program.
Many thanks for your time, and we wish you all the best in tomorrow's program. Hopefully we'll have you here another time to discuss this particular issue. But that was Madame Kathleen Adi. She is the Deputy Chairperson in charge of Finance and Administration at the National Commission on Civic Education. Well, away from that, the Ghana Police Service has intensified its operations at Ademan, a community here in Amasaman, where a local chief was murdered last Friday dawn. The public relations officer of the Accra Regional Police Command, ASP Efiatenge, in an interview with Joy News, stated the police are yet to make any arrests but are closing in on the perpetrators. She has also been narrating events leading to the unfortunate incident.
We found the late Ni Tete Saban, alias Nkoswohini, in his room when he's been murdered. And we also found some marks of violence on him, together with some gunshot wounds. So the body had to be deposited at the morgue for the police to begin investigations into how the chief was murdered. For now, we have not been able to arrest anybody yet, but I can assure you that looking at what is on the ground and what we're doing, we are very optimistic that in no time to come we should be able to round some people up.
Okay, I know you also put in some mechanisms in place to ensure that there are no reprisal, attacks in that particular area. Can you tell us exactly what the police is doing in that particular community?
Yes, looking at what happened and the agitations among the residents, especially the family members, it was very important that we intensify security presence or police presence within the Ademan community and its environs to prevent the breach of the peace. So we have increased the number of patrol teams that we used to have within that community. And from time to time, too, we are in constant communication with certain opinion leaders and some family members who are able to give us information on how best we can arrest the culprits. So with our intensification within the area, and this morning I have spoken to the divisional commander who tells me that because of the presence there, it's been able to calm nerves down, and we haven't recorded any untoward incident.
We'll bring you more updates on this particular story as and when they are available.